Afternoon, friends. I am Vineet, part of DADA Advisors. I will request other people to mute their video and audio so that we can hear the session. My other colleague, Mr. Radhakrishna Rao. Hello, Mr. Rao.
Good afternoon, Vineet. Good afternoon, everybody.
Mr. Rao has 30 years of experience at GST department. He has also been received the National Award for GST contribution, and is also currently as a secretary of Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. GST Council meeting happened on 14th March, and press conference of Finance Minister happened on 24th March. Based on that, around 32 notifications and 5 circulars have been issued. Today, we are going to discuss on the key changes which are recommended, starting with the returns, whether due date has been extended or not, the validity of way bill, where they given the small relief, and in a specific section where the extension of dates is not applicable, which we need to understand where are the points there. The CGST rules has been amended specifically for input tax credit for refunds, which we'll discuss in detail. And the specific point based on advance ruling, which came yesterday on the reverse charge applicability on the director's remuneration. In the GST Council meeting, they have given bigger relief to the mobile manufacturers by removing the inverted duty structure by increasing the rate. However, by increasing the rate, it has impacted the industry in a negative way. Further, they have rationalized the rates on the matches to 5%, and the bigger relief they given for the MRO services, which is maintenance repair services for aviation sector. And the rate has been drastically reduced from 18% to 5%. Last year, if you see, the amendment happened in the Finance Act 2019, where provision has been added in section 50 to give relief that interest will be on the net liability instead of gross liability. But this amendment is not yet effective. And further, number of High Court judgment came last year, which were in favor or which were against it part. Now they would like to implement the net liability aspect for interest retrospectively from 1st July 17, which is a welcome step. And the issue will come when currently the dates has been extended, whether this benefit will continue or not. In relation to e-invoicing and QR code and for new return, it has been postponed till October 20. And looking to COVID-19 situation, we can expect it may go to next calendar year. For B2B segment, for e-invoicing, they given relief, specifically for banking, financial institution, NBFC, insurance company, and passenger transport services. Notification yet to come, it's not yet been announced. The other changes which GST Council has recommended is mainly on the e-wallet scheme, which again postponed till 31st March 2021. And for refunds, they have given multiple aspect changes in CGST rule, and circulars also been issued, which we will discuss in detail. Now I will request Mr. Rao to discuss on the GST return due dates and other aspects.
Okay, thank you, Vineet, and good afternoon, everybody. Hope my voice is audible.
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay. Regarding extension of for GST returns, so most of the taxpayers are feeling that the due dates have been extended. Is not correct. Due dates have not been extended. What they have given, what benefit they have given is they have waived interest and late fees subject to certain conditions. So let us discuss on them. So as I understand, most of the taxpayers attending on this meeting more of with aggregate annual turnover more than 5 crores. We'll skip 0.15, 1.5 and up to 5 crores taxpayers. We'll go to the next slide where we'll discuss about the due dates for the taxpayers with turnover above 5 crore. So, and the due date for filing of GSTR 1 by the taxpayers whose annual turnover is more than 5 crores is 11th of the subsequent month. They have to file the returns monthly. So 11th of the subsequent month. So for March, April, and May, now they are allowed to file the returns up to 30th June. If the returns are filed up to 30th June, there is no late fee. Of course, there is no interest on GSTR 1. Late fee is waived. As far as 3P is concerned, 3P is concerned for February, March, April, and May. For any month, the due date is normal due date is 20th of the subsequent month. Now, with certain conditions, they have given certain benefits. If the return is filed, GSTR return is filed within 15 days from the due date, there is no interest or late fee. If it is filed after 15 days from the due date, the rate of interest is not normal, normal rate of 18%, but the reduced rate of 9%, subject to the condition that the return is filed on or before 24th June 2020. If the return is filed after 24th June 2020, this benefit is not available. The normal rate of interest and the liability as well as the late filing fee are collected. For May, it's not waiver of late fee or interest. It's actually extended by notification 36. That was extended. The due date for filing GSTR 3P is 27th June. So they have to file GSTR 9(9)C normally, but the original due date is 31st March. Now it is extended up to 30th June. If it is filed by 30th June, there is no penalty. If it is filed beyond that, they have to pay late filing fee. So I have given a small illustration in the next slide. Of course, as I told you, if it is filed within 15 days from the due date, there is no interest or late filing fee. That is the normal due date is for the month of April. Is for the month of March is 20th April. If it is filed on 2nd May, let us say that is within 15 days, there is no interest or late filing penalty, late filing fee. For example, if you file on 24th June also, the rate of interest is 9% that is collected after 15 days from the due date. That is for 50 days you have to pay 9% interest and there is no late fee to be paid. But if you file on 30th June, let us say, there is a delay of 71 days. For the total 71 days, you have to pay interest at the rate of 18% and normal late filing fee because you have filed after the 24th June.
Mr. Rao, I have a question here.
Yeah, please tell me.
Do you expect this lower rate of interest rate will be further extended looking to lockdown situation?
Yeah, it's difficult to say because the situation is changing every day. Government, if it feels that lockdown has to be more stronger in future, in the near future also, they may extend it. But we have to follow the timeline. That will be good for us because the returns are filed online. I think we can file it. Even if there is any small deviations, I suggest you file the returns. If there is anything to be corrected, you can correct subsequently also. Whether it is GSTR 1 or GSTR 3P, there is no problem. You can correct afterwards also. That is my suggestion. Okay, as far as UAPL is concerned,
Mr. Rao, one question from Adama. Mr. Rao.
Please.
Mr. Praveen, we will take all the queries later on.
Sir, a small doubt.
So we can take later, sir.
Okay, done. Okay, Vinitji, done.
The extension of validity of the UAPL is, you see, most of the taxpayers, they have started their consignments before announcement of lockdown. They are stuck up in the midway because the enforcement agencies have stopped their vehicles. So they are not able to supply the goods on a date mentioned in the UAPL. So now the expiry date, if it falls between 20th March and 15th March, the validity date has been extended up to 30th April. There is no issue. So you can supply the goods up to 30th April. There is sufficient time now. And then there's some of the activities to be done by the department on as well as the taxpayer. The due dates fall between this lockdown period. So government has extended these dates. If we see the department side, the issue of notice, if I have to issue a show cause notice, that the due date, the last date for issue of show cause falls between the lockdown period, it will be difficult to serve the notice. So like that, issue of notification or an approval order, sanction order, these four, A to D. In case of these activities, department will get extension up to 30th June. If the due date falls between 20th March and 29th June, the date is extended to 30th June. In the case of taxpayer also, like filing of appeal, some adjudication process has been completed, the taxpayer has to file appeal. So the due date for filing appeal falls in the lockdown period. It's not possible to go out and file the appeal. So similarly, furnishing of any returns, furnishing of returns, furnishing of any statements and applications and reports.
Kindly mute the page, I will request.
Okay.
Okay. Then some more dates have been extended. For example, the government departments and PSUs collects TDS from the suppliers. They have to deposit by filing GSTR 7 return. Similarly, tax collector, electronic commerce operators have to pay the collect 2% from the suppliers and pay under Section 52. And taxpayers have to file application under Section 54. Taxpayers have also in the first week of April for the year 2021. So now, in this case of four activities, they are not in a position to fulfill these conditions during the lockdown period. So it has been extended. It has also been extended. Please, next slide. Na? Next slide. Next slide, please. Akif, next slide.
Next slide in the time of supply chapter.
But these exceptions are not applicable in case of certain activities, like in case of valuation in Chapter 4 of CGST Act or registration, something like that. Like this exception is not applicable to casual taxable person. Something so like if there's any necessity to pay interest, power to arrest, or power of the department to detain, seize the goods, vehicles, or documents in case of violations in e-way bills. In these cases, it is not applicable. The extension is not applicable. Then the composition scheme. So this is not much in this screen. We'll go to the next slide. Yes. So in the composition, taxpayers have to file. Normally, there are 4 returns relevant to the composition taxpayers. First is CMP 02, GST CMP 02. They have to file before commencement of the finance year. Of any financial year, the taxpayers intends to opt for composition scheme during 2021. They have to opt it before. They have to file CMP 02 before commencement of the financial year. So that is 31st March 2020. Now it is extended up to 30th June. Similarly, they have to file ITC 03 within 60 days from the due date from the relevant date, intimating the department the ITC available in the inputs and also inputs contained in the semi-finished goods and finished goods. They have to reverse that amount, that ITC, that has to be filed within 60 days from 1st April, that is 31st May. Now it is extended up to 31st July. Then CMP 08 is a payment return, quarter return filed to be filed by the composition taxpayers. So that is to be filed normally on 18th of the subsequent month subsequent to the quarter, relevant quarter. Now, for the quarter January to March, you are supposed to file on 18th. It is extended up to 7th July. Then GSTR 4 is the annual return. That is to be filed normally by 30th April. Now it is extended up to 15th July for the year 1920. Then, when we go to next slide, there are some certain changes in relation to ITC. Very important change. Now, under Rule 36(4), which was inserted with effect from, I think, 9th October of 2019, you are supposed to, of course, that was subsequently amended, allowing 10%, 110% of the credit available as per GSTR 2A. 110% of the credit available as per GSTR 2A. That you have to calculate every month and take the credit accordingly. But in this lockdown period, it may be difficult because all the tax suppliers are not filing GSTR 1, and there may be some other difficulties. Government has extended, government has given a benefit of cumulative calculation for the months of February to August. So whatever credit is available as per your books of account during these months, you can take the credit. But that 1% rule, 36(4) rule can be complied with when you file the return for September 2020. That means you have a clear window of 7 to 8 months. You can take the credit and you can adjust. If you have taken more credit during these months or lesser credit during these months, you can adjust that credit during the month of September. I have given a small illustrations here. You see, February to August, there are clear 7 months, and September, if you include September, 8 months. There are 4 columns in this table. First column is credit eligible as per your books of account. That means you have received the valid documents from a supplier, but supplier has not filed the GSTR1 return. But still, you have this credit. You are eligible for this credit. If you go to second column, eligible as per your GSTR2A return. For February 20, even if you are eligible to take credit of 100 rupees, but the credit available as per GSTR2A is only 10 rupees. You can wait to adjust this amount up to the month of September. So, for example, by the time to come to September, the supplier has filed GSTR1 return, allowing a credit of 60 rupees. That you can calculate in the month of September. So, instead of waiting to September, you take the credit for the month of February itself. The total credit you can take now, and you can adjust in the subsequent months. I have given the calculation in the next slide. You can see that. See, for example, the total credit you are eligible as per your books of account for the months of February to August is 670 rupees. In the previous slide, you have seen. You see, but the returns filed by the suppliers and the credit available to you as per your GSTR2A returns for the months of February to August is only 470 rupees. Now, you can take credit of 470 plus 10% of 470 in the month of September. You see, so 470 plus 10% of 470 equals to 570 rupees. Instead of 670, you have to take 570 rupees. But every month you have taken the actual credit available as per your books of account, 670 rupees you have taken. So you have taken an excess credit of 153 rupees. 153 is 670. The total credit minus your eligibility, 517. That is 153 rupees you have taken more credit. That is for the months of February to August. If you go to September, let us assume that you are eligible for 300 rupees credit, but the credit available as per your GSTR2A is only 200 rupees. So you are eligible for the month of September is 220 rupees, 200 rupees plus 10% or 200. So what is the total credit available in your September return is the credit eligible for the months of February to August plus the eligible credit of September. So that B plus 10% of B is 200 rupees. That is available as per your GSTR return plus 10% of B. That means 20 rupees minus A. That means 153 rupees you have taken excess credit for the months of February to August. So even though you are eligible for 200 rupees, since you have already available excess credit of 153 rupees, now you can take credit of 67 rupees in your September return. Isn't it?
Thank you, sir. Any person have any query regarding all this point, I will request you to put in chat box, and we will take all the queries after the session.
Thank you, Vineet. I hand over the presentation to Vineet. He will continue. Thank you, Vineet.
Thank you, sir. This specific discussion we have wanted to do on the advance ruling, which came last week, and specifically on the director's remuneration, whether liable under RCM or not. In the state of Rajasthan, the advance ruling pronounced last week, the people who have filed the application, the specific query they asked is, whatever remuneration which we are paying to directors, whether do we need to pay under reverse charge mechanism or not. When the ruling has been pronounced, number of points which the applicant has put before the ruling authority, they did not consider. We would like to discuss on the points. Based on that, we can have a view that the ruling will not sustain, and number of points needs to be looked into before deciding whether remuneration paid to director is liable to RCM or not. First and foremost, under Companies Act, the definition of employee has been provided. And in that definition, director has been included. and except an independent director. It means every director is an employee, whether whole-time director or an MD or an executive director. Now, if we see the entry 1 of Schedule 3 of CGST Act, that particularly exclude any employer and employee transaction. By reading the definition of Companies Act and looking to definition and the explanation under CGST Act, any activity between director and company except independent director is not liable to GST. When any transaction is not liable under GST, question of levy under reverse charge mechanism cannot arise. Further, the ruling did not differentiate between an executive director and a non-executive director. Whenever you take a non-executive director, generally you pay them a sitting fee or you pay them a commission or any other service charges. But the same is not the case for the directors who are the role of the company. Even when you are entering into a contract with the director, they specifically mentioned the director is an employee and we are paying them salary. They also did not differentiate between the remuneration which I am paying to them, whether in the form of a commission or a sitting fee or a salary. Further, the company has also put a point, we are deducting a provident fund and other retirement benefits, and also we are doing a TDS compliance under section 192. Looking to all these points which did not have been considered in the ruling, in our view, this ruling will not sustain. And considering the central appellate authority going to be established, such issue may not prevail once a single authority at appellate level gives the ruling for all the states. Any company which would like to understand whether this ruling will have the implication or not, they need to look into each and every contract of director. They need to look into the remuneration they are paying to them, whether salary or a commission or a profit or a sitting fee or any service charges. Whether you are doing the compliance under the Provident Fund and income tax under section 192. The person who is providing services to you is in the persona of employee or the persona of the service provider. These all questions should be looked into before deciding whether remuneration paid to director is liable under reverse charge mechanism or not. There are other changes which happened beyond input tax credit under CGST rule, and the specific change which happened is for Rule 96. Rule 96 is for the refund with payment of tax, where any exporter who is rendering services or manufacturing goods or into merchant exporter, he can pay the IGST on exports and can claim the refunds. In that case, this rule has been changed a number of times in October 17, in 2018 around 4 times, 2019 1 time, and now again. The sub-rule 96, sub-rule 10 of Rule 96 is specifically put restriction on deemed exporters, merchant exporter, EOU, STPI, and the people availing the benefit of advanced license. If they are claiming the benefit under any of this notification, they will not able to file refund under Rule 96. Now, this explanation has been added retrospectively from 23rd October 2017, when the benefit for EOU and advanced license was provided under GST. The explanation provides that you will be eligible to file refund under Rule 96, even if you have availed the benefit under said notifications, only when you have taken the benefit of basic custom duty only, and applicable IGST and cess has been paid. It means I have to limit my benefit under relevant notifications only for basic custom duty. I cannot take the benefit under IGST and cess part. Then only I can file a refund under Rule 96. It's a welcome move. However, being it's a procedural aspect and it's putting the restriction on exporters, this rule has already been challenged in Telangana High Court and the writ has also been admitted. But however, looking to the situation of COVID-19, hearing yet to happen. Other changes which happened under the refunds under CGST rule and by circular, the rule 96B has been added. Today, if any exporter of service, if he wants to avail the benefit of GST refund, he has to prove that the export realization has been realized. In case it's not realized, he cannot file refund claims. Same point has been now restricted to exporter of goods, but in a limited way. They can file the refund claim pending realization of export proceed. If still not realized within time limit given by RBI, which is 9 months and has been extended to 15 months now by the RBI relief, they need to pay back this amount along with interest. And only once they prove that they realize the amount, they can again file refund claim. It means now exporter of goods needs to maintain reconciliation, track the realization of export proceeds, and then only should file refund claims, whether under Rule 89 or Rule 96. One more restriction they have put under the rule is for when any person who is having the inverted duty structure and the rate has been changed, but he has a stock prior to change and after change, he cannot take the benefit of refund in such cases due to time gap of stocking in the previous month and the now month. Other changes, maybe I will even request Mr. Rao to put highlight, where people were claiming the excess payment of tax as a refund by paying through credit and getting the refund in cash. Now looking to this point, they have brought changes in Rule 92(1)(a). In the mode in which you are paying the amount, in same mode, you will get your refund. If you have paid your amount other than due-rated refunds in cash, the amount will be paid back in cash. If you are paying through credit, amount will be paid back through credit. Mr. Rao, can you put your point on?
You see, the people are paying through the government fees. People are paying through availing ITC credit and claiming the cash, receiving the cash on that. So government wants to refund in the same mode. Of course, in earlier service tax period also, department used to do that. Cash component was refunded in cash, and the ITC component was refunded in credit register. Now also they are doing the same thing. So this is a recent amendment. It was not there earlier. That is it, na?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Other changes which has been brought in the refunds is on the by circular, where the partial relief has been given by RBI only on the extension of timeline. But other changes are procedural, which is hitting the exporters to now to a more collection of documents and data. To start with, the export proceeds for exports made till July 2020, you can realize up to 15 months instead of 9 months, which is the current due date. If you have multiple tax period, and in GST, tax period is a month. If you have multiple tax period across financial year, now you can file a single refund claim. You don't need to file 2 refund claims. And the one circular which came last week, where the instruction has been given to officers to process all the refunds claimed by 30th April. Mr. Rao, I would like to check with you whether how is on ground reality, whether all the refunds are being processed or not.
No, they are processing. In fact, they are doing on a war footing. Most the news is more than 50% of the refunds claims have been cleared now. They are clearing on a fast pace now. They are not waiting for 2 months or 1 month, whatever it is. They are not waiting till the due dates. If the refund is filed, the documentation is okay, they are clearing the refunds immediately.
Thanks for the update, sir. Other point which they have brought, which will put additional burden on the exporters. Now, any refund will be restricted to the ITC reflected in GSTR 2A. So if the ITC
Yes.
is not reflecting on every invoice in GSTR 2A, you need to first compliance for
Okay.
Rule 36.4. Then you need to comply for refunds if you are exporter. Even
Yes,
when
the
we know
problem is,
rule, yes, sir.
sorry, the problem is if the invoice is not reflected in GSTR 2A means the GSTR 1 was not filed by the supplier. Once supplier has not filed GSTR 1, has not paid the duty to the government. So government, without receiving the duty from the supplier, how can it refund it to the taxpayer? That is the issue here.
So, but point here is GSTR 2A was postponed, and Rule 36.4 itself has been challenged in the High Courts. We do not know what is sanctity of continuing this process till new return comes into picture.
That is true. That is true. Number of cases are pending, but still, since the decision comes from the court, you have to follow the rule. You have to follow the instructions of the government, directions of the government. There is no alternative as of now.
Another point which they have put a restriction, Annex which came in the month of November for specific exporters where they need to provide details before getting the benefit. Now, additional burden has been put for every line item, whether inputs, input services or capital goods, you need to mention HSN code. Only exception is
Yes.
if your supplier is below 1.5 crore turnover, you no need to mention.
They need
Means I will segregate suppliers who are not required to, suppliers who are required to and complied with, suppliers who are required and not complied with. And accordingly, I have to file Annexure B and then only my refunds will be processed. The other changes which they have made is mostly about the procedural aspect. Same like in income tax PAN, they have put also authentication of Aadhaar under GST. Physical verification is depend on the officer discretion or in the absence of authentication of Aadhaar for all GST registration. Last year, the Sabka Shwas legal dispute resolution scheme came. A number of people have availed the benefit. The first installment was due in the last quarter. Government has given even relief looking to the COVID-19 situation. The date has been extended from March end to June. And further, for this 3 months gap, you no need to pay interest. Indirectly, you are getting a relief on the interest on working capital. These all are the changes which has been brought in the GST looking to the COVID-19 situation and the GST Council recommendation. In the next 2.5 months, yes, there are certain way forward which every company needs to look into it. We specifically cover what are due dates which are extended or staggered. Please note, there is no due date extension, which is Rao also explained. It's only staggered only for the conditional waiver of penalty or fee, like returns, audit, and others. Due dates which are not extended, which are not coming under specific notification 35, like TDS deduction and payment, tax invoice, e-way bill, and others. We recommend you do a monthly tracking of Rule 36.4, irrespective of a cumulative compliance to be done in the month of September. As in case you take excess credit, you need to reverse along with interest. Yes, you need to comply with HSN data now in Annexure B for every refund you claim. The relief by RBI is on the realization export pursuit, but you need to track it because now even for exporter of goods, refund will be recovered in case the amount is not realized. The foremost is now every company is doing a liquidity or a cash management strategy irrespective of indirect tax. It's like from a treasury department where they would like to know what are the priority payment, what are statutory payment, and how they are managing their cash flow and transaction flow. It should be done on a periodical basis, look into current situation. E-way bill validity has been increased, but yes, it's only for limited period. In case you have any e-way bill which is not used and all, please cancel it or see the tracking of that. GST audit and annual return for 18-19 due date, which is extended due date, is 30th June 2020, which you need to comply with. Mr. Rao, you any other point which you would like to add where the people needs to comply with and look into it? Then we can take the specific queries which we received in chat.
Yeah, just 1 minute. I would like to reiterate that there is no extension of due dates for the returns. Only the facility of waiver of interest and late fee is given subject to certain conditions. That has to be, that's very important. And exporters, it's good that LUT of 1920 can be used up to 30th June. Same can be quoted in their export documents for the 3 months. It is second. And the third point I want to reiterate is the cumulative benefit of the ITC credit for the months of February to August, that they can avail the benefit. Whatever credit available as per the books of account, whatever credit as per the documents available with them, they can avail during February to August, and they can adjust in the month of September. I would like to advise all the taxpayers to make use of these benefits.
Thanks, sir. And we will take now the specific queries which we received.
Okay. Yeah.
So one query is regarding the computation of 9% rate.
Yeah.
They want to understand whether if any delay beyond the 24th June, they need to pay 18% from starting date, or how it will be computed.
From the original due date, they have to pay 18%, plus from the original due date, they have to pay a late fee.
One query from Mr. Hadi. As per the press release on 24th March, it was clearly mentioned due date has been extended. But notification has given only waiver of late fee. Why there is no extension of date?
Yes, no extension of date. Press release they might have given informally, but we have to follow the notification. Na?
So one more query is regarding this non-compliance as per Companies Act if returns are filed within 15 days grace period. Yet it's a non-compliance under Company Act and CARO, but the government has given legislation under GST. You need to look into it whether it's impacting your CARO compliance or other part or not. So another query is there any extension of ITC 04 return, which is due on 25th April?
Yeah, ITC 04 is filed under Rule 45. So Rule 45 is not an exception as per notification 35. That means filing of ITC 04 is also extended. Due date for filing of ITC 04 is also extended because it's not an exception. The Rule 45 is not an exception of notification 35 if you see.
So another query is whether we need to do a GSTR 3B and do a reconciliation or full year or month. It has to be done on monthly basis after October changes in 2019.
Please repeat, I could not get it.
One query.
Can you repeat the question?
Is there any clarity on refund of ITC offset in relation to capital goods credit? Will there be cash refund of duty paid to ITC or only refund of ITC to ledger? And from when this amendment will be applicable? Is it applicable for previous year export or ITC pileup also?
This is applicable.
Yes, I will respond to the query.
Please. Okay.
So this change happened is prospective, is not retrospective. And they will do refund from cash to cash and credit to credit. It applicable to all the aspects, whether capital goods or input service or inputs. And it is applicable being prospective to any refunds which you are filing for previous year. They may consider it because it's filed after the date when this notification is issued.
Here I want to add, I don't think so because the notification is effective from 23rd March. So I think it is applicable for the applications, refund applications filed subsequent to 23rd March, even if the refund amount relates to the period prior to 23rd March.
There was a clarity needs to be given because obviously the confusion will be rules mostly applicable when the date is notified as a procedural aspect. It does not go back to back.
Refunds granted subsequent to 23rd March is applicable to refunds granted 23rd March, subsequent 23rd March. That's my understanding. As you said, of course, we may see clarification from the government.
And one more query, which was last is the 2A and 3B reconciliation. The question is for the refund application. Yes, if refunds you are filing on a yearly basis, you need to do a month-on-month for Rule 36(4). Accordingly, it will assist you when you are filing the refund claim for the changes. I understand your point. You would like to understand whether can I file the refund claim for particular quarter or month when even the reconciliation is not done. The refund rules have been more stricter, but it came through clarification or circular. It is not coming from the rules or act. So we need to wait and the further clarification can be provided whether I need to look into month-on-month or yearly basis.
Yeah, month-on-month you have to see the calculation. Rule 36(4) is a typical rule. You have to be very cautious. Month-on-month you have to calculate. Okay, even if you file the refund claim, department will definitely see all your returns and the eligibility. Then only it will grant. To grant the refund.
We have taken the. We have one more query, sir. Just a minute. There's a query on the Rule 89 on amendment applicable on rebate also. This amendment is happened only in Rule 96. And you're talking about the amendment regarding the exporter of goods, then it's applicable on both Rule 89 and 96. Hope I have answered your query, Mr. Sai Charan, or if you have any query, you can again put in the chat box.
Mr. Vinith, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Vinith, I have two clarifications required.
Yeah, tell me, sir.
See, one way government is restricting under Rule 36(4), 10% of the ITC can be availed by the taxpayer more than reflecting in GSTR 2A. Right, sir?
Hello, can you repeat?
Yeah.
Sir, under Rule 36(4), a taxpayer can avail 10% more than the ITC available in GSTR 2A.
Okay.
So if you see the refund rule is saying that only the refund will be given on the invoices which are reflecting on GSTR 2A. What about the 10% of the ITC which are availed more than the 2A?
So the refund clarification is coming from circular and it's independent. And even if you file a refund claim, A will look for a RECO and reflection into 2A, irrespective of Rule 36 for compliance. So refund will be on stricter norms. Mr. Rao, you can add your point from your side.
I think there is nothing I can add.
On Rule 36 for one more query, whether we should do it on monthly basis or cumulatively for September. You can do in September as law provided. Only we are suggesting so that any amount should not take in excess. If you can track it, you can track internally and you can claim the full credit. So I'm requesting from an internal compliance, not from a filing of return. You can do a tracking based on your GST1 filing by your suppliers.
Yes, of course, if it is possible, you can comply every month, or you can take the credit available as per your records and adjust during the month of September at the time of filing of the return for the month of September.
I think we have taken all the queries and now even the time is running.
Sir, one more last
maybe
question.
Mr. Radha, maybe you can ping me WhatsApp. I will reply on that. So looking at time, we need to close our session. Thanks to all. Thanks for time and thanks Mr. Rao. We will share the feedback form, and we will also share the document which we use for today's session. Kindly provide your feedback, and thanks for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vinit. Thank you, Vinit. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vinay.